all, my name is Mouse, sometimes known as Andy, and I talk about books and book-related things. And today I am specifically going to be talking about my Kindle Unlimited recommendations. This is a video that's been pretty requested for me because a lot of people know that I read Kindle Unlimited books. I will be including Art's affiliate link down below, so if you're in the UK and you want to get the Kindle Unlimited, I think you get a month free, maybe 3, not totally sure, with that link, but I will be including it down below to help you guys out and also to help her out. I don't have an affiliate link, otherwise I would include it too, but I'm gonna do my best to help who I can, you know? So I'm gonna split this up into a few different parts because I've read like 30 or 40 Kindle Unlimited books. I also will be linking down below the Goodreads bookshelf of those Kindle Unlimited books because anything I don't mention, you can see it in the bookshelf and then you can see how I rated it as well and kind of make your own conclusions there. I usually rate really highly, so if it's 3-star or below, then that means I thought it was just okay, just for context. So the sections that I'm going to be talking about are first books in a series. So Kindle does have a few books that are really popular, but there is just the first one available in Kindle Unlimited, series that I super enjoyed, standalones that I enjoyed, comics, and then I'm going to also talk about the Audible editions that are available for free if you happen to also have Audible. So that's going to be a really short section, so I thought I would include it because it didn't feel worth making an entire video about. So the first thing is going to be the first books in a series. We have the Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. That is the first book in the Mistborn series. Now that's a really chunky book and all of the books in that series are really thick apparently. I have only read the first book in the series and I did really enjoy it and I would recommend it if you happen to like fantasy sci-fi and you like Brandon Sanderson. He does a really good job of creating a world, and there's also a female protagonist that I felt was written pretty well. Brandon Sanderson actually writes female protagonists relatively well and not in a frustrating way, and so I really enjoyed this book. The next one is going to be Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. It is a part of the Brooklyn Brujas series. I really enjoyed this series. I have the very last book to read and then I have completed it, but essentially it is a queer bruja and she is trying to figure out her powers, but she ends up accidentally banishing her family. So she has to get them back with this male best friend, and they go and, you know, try and save the day essentially. The series is really good and I recommend it. It is unscribed. The first and second books I believe are unscribed, so if you want to listen to them you can do so unscribed. If you just want to read the first one and you have Kindle Unlimited, that's available too. I would class it as a pretty quick read. I do think that once you get it on Kindle Unlimited, you can get the Whispersync audiobook for like $6, if I remember correctly. And it may not still be that way, so don't hold me to that, but it may not still be that way. You also can get the first 2 books in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson from Kindle Unlimited. Now, I personally have not read this book series, but my brother has read it 3 times and he's a picky book reader, so I'm gonna assume that it's a pretty good series and it's Brandon Sanderson and I like his writing, so there you have it. The next section I'm going to talk about is standalones because there's only one and that's really easy to go over. So for standalones that I've read and really enjoyed from Kindle Unlimited is going to be Opium and Absinthe by Lydia Kang. It is a historical sort of mystery thriller. I really enjoyed this book despite not being someone who enjoys historical books because of the usage of opium and absinthe in the book. So the drug addiction concept, making things like you know someone's murdering people but like they think it's a vampire at one point because of the drugs that everyone is on. So that I found really interesting, and it was a really quick read, and I also think you can get it Whispersynced for relatively cheap as well if audiobooks are your thing. The next topic that I'm going to mention is comics, also just a short bite size here. That's going to be The Lumberjanes by Noelle Stevenson. I really enjoyed this book series, this comic book series. I'm on like volume 5 now, I think, and they're just fun, quick reads. The characters are really enjoyable to watch go through this very strange camp where there's Greek gods and chaos and a camper named Riley who has my whole heart. I love Riley. There are queer characters, and it's just done really well, and it's a really fun series to read. The next one is going to be the Goldie Vance series. Now, I don't remember who wrote the Goldie Vance series, but it is about a mixed girl who is a detective, essentially, in her father's hotel. And she just is a little bit chaotic, and it's a lot of fun, and she's also queer, which is great. I've only read the first 2 in this series, but so far I've been really enjoying it. It's also in the same style as like the Riverdale comics. The art style is really similar, and I enjoy that a lot. I think that art style is really clean and classic, and so that's one of the reasons that I've enjoyed the Goldie Vance series. The next section that we're going to talk about is series. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 series by the same author. They are my favorite Kindle Unlimited series. I listen to all of the audiobooks. My favorite reader reads one of these series, and actually my favorite male reader reads the other series. So I would recommend them as audiobooks, but as ebooks, they're pretty quick reads and they're really enjoyable. The first one is Heartstrikers by Rachel Aaron. This is going to be in the DFZ realm, but it comes before the series I'm going to talk about in a second. The Heartstrikers series follows the youngest Heartstriker dragon. So we have these dragon families that have both human forms and dragon forms, and his mother has basically locked his dragon side, and so he is stuck as a human and has to figure it out from there. There's a lot of chaos that occurs, and this warlock mage witch becomes their mages, becomes his best friend, but also the person that saves him many a time. There is, I believe, 7 books in the series, and it all ties together really well. The Detroit Free Zone is supposed to be the future when we get magic back. So essentially magic has been drained and is gone, and we get it all back, and you find out how all of that happened throughout the Heartstrikers series. The next series by Rachel Aaron is the DFZ series, and it happens about 60 years after the Heartstrikers series. We follow a mage who works as a cleaner. Essentially, she cleans out houses that they've fallen on their rent, and she sells what she can. Have you ever seen that show where they like auction off storage units? That's basically what she does. But she's basically got really bad luck and nobody can figure it out, and she partners up with this guy named Nick, and just chaos ensues, and it's all in the same world. But I think it's more beneficial if you've already read the Heartstrikers series to then read the DFZ series. But if you're more about more pro female protagonists, then you'll probably like the DFZ series better than the Heartstrikers series. You can read them on their own, but I would recommend Heartstrikers and then DFZ, just so you have an understanding of the world that is not necessarily provided in the DFZ series. The next series that I'm going to recommend is The Whims of Fae by Nisa Leader. It's basically like Folk of the Air meets A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's this human goes to the realm of the fairy, and they try to use her as basically a conduit, because all of their powers are fueled by human emotion, or at least they get more energy out of it. And something goes awry, and she's able to do more than she should be able to, and I don't want to spoil the series, but these books are only about 200 pages long. They're really bite-sized, and I think the first 4 of them also have audiobooks available as well, again, if that's your thing. It's quick and easy, but very romance focused, so it wasn't my favorite because romance is not my jam, but if it is your jam and you liked those 2 book series that I just mentioned, you'll probably like that series. And the last series that I'm going to mention is the Vine Witch series by Luann G. Smith. In this book, we've got witches of all different kinds, and they're kind of solving mysteries of their own. And it's just a fun and playful kind of romantic book series. Now, again, not a romance reader, and so all of these books for me fell at about the 3 to 4 star. There is, I think, only the first 2 books on the Kindle Unlimited, though. I'm not sure about the 3rd book, but I think it's because it just came out. However, the world that's built around is really, really interesting, and the way that the magic works is really cool. There's vine witches, which means that they work at wineries. And I thought that was a really cool concept, and that's why I borrowed this book from the Kindle Unlimited to begin with. So I really recommend it if that's kind of your jam, if you like witchy books. Kind of think like the Good Witch series on Netflix. It has that kind of vibe. For audiobooks from Audible, they are both from the same author, Rin Chupeco. Rin Chupeco has written a ton of books that I super love, but I really highly recommend the Bone Witch series. So the Bone Witch, the Heart Forger, and the Shadow Glass. These are some of my all-time favorite books, and they did get me back into reading when I started all of this. So in December of 2019, I checked out that book from the library, having no idea what it was about, and have just been into Rin Chupeco's writing ever since. It is an amazing book about someone who can basically do necromancy, and you are seeing both the aftermath of her having this power and no one else having this power, and also her training of becoming the Bone Witch. So it's just really interesting to see all of these things come together, and it is free on Audible at the moment. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it is free on Audible, so you are able to listen to it if you happen to already have an Audible subscription. The next one is, again, by Rin Chupeco, and it is The Girl from the Well and the Suffering. This is a horror by Rin, and it basically follows this guy who can see ghosts, and a very manipulative and a very scary ghost attaches herself to him, and they then sort of figure out what's going on because his mother may have accidentally cursed him or something. You'll have to read it to find out more information. I don't want to spoil the books for you, but again, like most of these books, like most of these books, this series is a pretty quick read. I really enjoyed it though. I think I finished both of the books in one day each. It really was pretty bite-sized for me, but I really recommend it. It's a good start into Rin Chupeco's writing, and it's pretty different than anything else that they have written, because Rin writes a lot of fantasy and this is horror, and I found that to be a really interesting switch from the author. So those are the books that I recommend from Kindle Unlimited and Audible. I hope that you enjoyed this, that this answered your question and gave questions and gave you guys something good to read. Like I said, will include the links down below for the library, or for the Goodreads bookshelf, so that you can see some of these books and add them to your want to read, or whatever you decide to do. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. I can continue to find books to read on Kindle Unlimited and make another one of these videos later, but if you didn't like this, sorry. But don't forget to like and subscribe and share, and make sure the notifications are turned on. I hate having to remind people in every video, but it would be great if you did, as well as commenting, because interactions are super helpful. So I will catch you guys next time. Thanks again for tuning in. Okay, thanks, bye.